What a game one between Snake and Suning. Over 60 minutes long, and it's a backdoor attempt from Suning that goes awry. That feel when you're trying to backdoor the enemy base and the inhib respawns. It's just so tough.
Yep. Let me just tell you right now, BLG definitely knows the feeling. They're watching at home and realizing, yeah you know what, maybe not go for that. But that was hectic. That was a crazy game, and it really does come down to team fights. I wanted to bring it on back because it felt so long that you forget about the early game. Because it was a battle between, of course, Skarner trying to find an efficient path and getting to level 6 as soon as possible. I really love the fact that he got that, I would say, Raptor clear. Red, Raptors, full clear blue side. You get to level 4 much faster than the Sejuani. He was outpacing the Sej, but the problem is, even though, of course, the entirety of Snake were playing to that strength, the lanes were getting ganked.
Yeah.
So, like, Sejuani was just able to get so much impact in the mid lane.
That's something that we've got to talk about, right? Because we mentioned before the game how Suning play around the likes of Hacker and Knight, how XiaoAL we can expect him to play against Flandre, and they identified that. They played around that style, they played around those lanes, and took an early advantage, breaking all those tier 1s, having significantly more trouble with the tier 2s and the inhibs, though.
Exactly. And so I just kind of drawing that back because it really did feel like a mirror of the IG set going up against Snake, just because we saw that invade coming from Skarner, but immediately was batted away by the Sejuani and the Corki, so he had to blow flash early. And if I look towards the lanes, and this is the only really time that interests me in pick and ban, is that what lane is Skarner going to gank, right? Goes towards bottom lane, if he gets level 6, is that there's a Skarner, I mean there's a Tahm Kench there. Goes towards mid, Valkyrie from the Corki
just
to
turns
get
him
away
around.
from that, exactly. And then goes top lane. That's just so hard for him to have those early game impact that the Suning lineup was able to get into their 1-3-1 a lot easier. It felt like they had so much pressure because their ganks were coming off a lot more successfully. And then once they got Trinity Force on Corki, well, he's like, well, I'm just going to be accruing farm on side lane.
Exactly. And we do have to commend Knight for his solo kill on Guoguo in lane.
That's
but
true.
in that same vein, we have to commend Snake on putting on a heroic defense. I mean, they were just sitting back for so long and holding on, not giving up anything. And whenever they did have to give up something, they almost always made Suning trade back for it on the other side.
Yes, the Baron situation really threw them back into the game. Because this game, in any other circumstance, would have just been Suning's easy peasy.
Yeah.
They had so much pressure, so much Baron pressure, but Snake understood that they weren't necessarily going to be on Baron, and they had a really good scaling composition. A lot of the counter picks that they were able to get themselves, the Kog'Maw, the Braum for themselves, they recognized that their laning phase was going to be harsh, but when they got later on to the point of the game, that Kog'Maw was going to be free hitting. And that Braum had such a massive presence, being able to block all of Sion's ultis, that Sion didn't have much pressure in team fights. They need to look for flanks, and so it was getting so hard for Snake that Suning, or at least so hard for Suning, that Snake were like, all right, we're getting a lot more easily, like we can actually impact these team fights going forward. It's on to Snake to kind of find a way to be creative about it.
So then turning our attention towards this game 2 that's going to be coming up in just a few minutes, Suning, they already showed the early and mid-game ideas on how to beat the likes of Snake. Is it just a single champion change that gives them the late game priority, or do they just end the game before you've got a 6-item Kog'Maw?
Yeah, that's when I just say for Suning Gaming, I love their composition. I think it's an execution issue. When you get towards Barons, and if you have the Sion, get the Sion on flank a little earlier to be able to pressure Kog'Maw. If that does not happen, then you will lose the game regardless.
Well, we'll have to see if that's going to be the case. It's now time for our casters to get us into game 2.
Thanks, guys. As much as we can talk about how Snake turned around that game and took it into a 68-minute slugfest, we have to always bring it back to Champion Select, which we're about to get into for game number 2. Once again, it's another team we're trying to focus out SofM's champion pool. We saw multiple bans towards him in the jungle, forcing him to pick up Skarner, and Suning just had a very clean early game from that.
Yeah, we saw a very successful start to the game from Suning. I had no quarrels with it whatsoever. It looked like they were very clean, found themselves 3,000 or 4,000 odd gold ahead just past the champion select as well, and the recipe is proven by Invictus Gaming against Snake. They 2-0'd them, they just banned out jungle and then tracked the jungler. Very simple. This game from Suning Gaming was a little bit different through the early laning phase. but they still played in a very similar style from that champion select. But I agree with Raz, it was execution. I think that Sion could have flanked earlier. I think that even when Sion was flanked, he chose to go onto the Braum instead of hitting the carries. And a Kog'Maw and an Azir free hitting is always going to be enough to just outright win a team fight. It happened consistently.
On top of that, we saw Suning trying to play to their strengths. Multiple times, splitting up the map, looking for the laning phase advantages when they could shut down SofM, and they did that well. They broke all the outer turrets, made sure they danced around the Baron, but again, it went into a 5-on-5 fight, which Suning didn't have to take. They could have continued splitting Snake up across the map.
Yes, they could have tried. They didn't try, though. They could have actually put the Sion with the Corki. They could have threatened the Gnar. They could actually put the Sion in a long lane to use the ultimate to engage onto Gnar. Things that could be more creative, things that Sinner Gaming could have, and it's all could haves. They did none of it. They tried so hard to group up as 5. They tried so hard to just secure themselves a Baron, get the objective, get out clean. But ultimately, none of it came true. Snake held steadfast, and they were able to just prolong the game's duration, which is exactly what they wanted, and it's exactly what they got.
And Snake found that way back to the match from that 5-on-5, from SofM's pick of the mid lane. But then Suning kind of wrestled back some control. Snake got a 4-on-1 fight. Suning still held on to their base. Picked up Elder Dragon with Knight making a smart play on Corki. Then they caught Flandre out twice. And both times it looked like Snake were going to be KO'd right there.
And look, when it comes to Snake, I would never say that Flandre is a strong communicator. There was a time in 2015, Fish, you were there, where we did an interview with Flandre. And I said, how's your communication work with the team? And he basically spoke like Impact speaks in NA. But he speaks the native language, of course, and he just doesn't talk, is the answer for Flandre. Getting caught out of position is fairly inexcusable if you get caught twice. The first time is a mistake, but Snake still get the victory. They can look past it in the end. You just hope to not see it again in Game 2.
Yeah, apparently the only thing that Flandre says to SofM is either top is going to die or I am going to die come top. Which is followed up with SofM saying okay, and Flandre either saying top dead or I'm dead.
Yeah. So he's literally Impact just in his own language, which is
pretty much.
It's certainly creative.
But he does not get that help from SofM apparently either. However, moving into this next match, we'll have to see if SofM does get unlocked, because we know he can do a lot more when he's on champions like Sejuani, or like Jarvan even going into this match against Suning. And will Suning be able to successfully transition their good 1-4 or 1-3-1 playstyle into a decent mid to late game? Because so far we haven't seen that from them against teams like Snake or like EDG, teams that are above them at the moment in LPL standings.
And it does make you wonder, you know, we spoke towards Snake's vision control in that first game. Is that actually the difference for Sinner Gaming here? Do they struggle to just make decisions, or is it being hesitant to make those plays when they know their opponents are a good team? Because if that is the case, it has to change now. That is not the culture of the LPL. You're ahead, you make the play, and you have to do it properly.
Moving into game number 2, already the bans for the first phase have come through for both Suning as well as Snake. Have Rise, Vladimir as well as Gangplank being taken off the table. Snake, they're going to ban out Azir, Camille, and Zoe. So Guoguo got his chance to play Azir in that last match, not allowing Knight to have the same opportunity. But the man who stole Elder Dragon will get the same champion he had in game number 1, picking up Tahm Kench as his supportive choice.
Of course, he should be getting that constantly as well. It's one of his most played, I believe, after last game. It is his most played support champion with 7 picks. Next to that one is the Braum, and that's something that you'd be looking towards for Snake as a response here when they go for the support role of themselves. Sinner Gaming, they lock in a comfortable champion, but Snake are able to respond very easily.
They pick up Flandre as their top lane pick of choice, and Hudie, the man that we both thought would pick up MVP after his clutch performance in team fights and the base defense, gets the same champion as game 1, going towards Braum once again.
Which is perfect for him. It's exactly what he should be having. It unlocks any AD carry in the entire repertoire of Crystal's champion pool, including the likes of Draven, which is very unlikely. But note that, of course, he is a legacy Draven main, so Braum just a very good enabling champion. At the same time, we're seeing rotations and drafts here from Sinning Gaming. Note that they haven't changed their ban phase. Note that they're not changing the identity of their picks. And that shows that they're at least aware that the problem was execution. It wasn't champions, it was how they played it.
They still have the Tahm Kench, still has a lot of protection for their AD carries as well as map presence with his ultimate. They're picking up another mid laner who can rotate very effectively. Yes, Corki relies on the package. Now Taliyah just uses the ultimate to do that a little bit more effectively and as and when she wants to. And again, moving back towards Sion on the top lane for XiaoAL. Once again, both teams saying, you know what? As you said, it's not about what we drafted, it's about how we played it.
For Snake, I think they could be a bit more aggressive in the early and mid stages of the game. The Azir and the Kog'Maw is very risky. when Suning Gaming are such a high-intensity and bloodthirsty team. I do think that Snake's draft, in the scope of the identity of each respective team, was weak. They just got very lucky that Suning did not know how to close that game out, because we have seen clean closes from SNG in the past.
We sure have, but Snake do make one adaptation here. With Azir being taken away as one of their bans, Orianna is to pick up in the mid lane for Guoguo.
Orianna, the control mage, the rookie special as you would as well. Of course, they lost to rookie in their last set, so Guoguo, of course, learning his lesson. He is a very good Orianna player himself as well. Back in the last split, when Guoguo just joined Snake with Hudie, they had to try and assimilate themselves as quickly as possible, and it was Orianna and it was Rakan as their two major points of strength.
They got a big wombo combo now with the Gnar as well as Orianna available for Snake, so if they find those 5v1 team fights, something which Suning are known not to be too strong at, could potentially help them out. Closing out the games a little bit easier than the tough time they had in that last match. But now we're going through lots of AD carry bans. First, going through Kalista, Xayah, the final ban from Snake, Cogmore, taken away by Suning.
Yeah, and I believe the initiator of this, of course, the Kalista's a decent ban, is the Cogmore from Suning Gaming. Removing that, Snake has said, well, let's dance, Cowboy, and they've actually put the Xayah into the mix as well. Snake have the first pick here when it comes to the second pick phase. They can pick themselves up their AD carry of choice. And what does Suning Gaming do as a response?
Final ban from Suning. If they don't go for Varus here, as you said, Crystal can pick it up as his first pick of choice. Instead, they ban out Skarner. Interesting ban coming out. I mean, Jarvan, Zac, still all left up and available. Sejuani has made it through the draft phase as well, but they go for the Skarner ban.
Yeah, Skarner's not unexpected in terms of bans, but I don't think they banned it simply because of how well SofM played it. It's a compositional reason you'd have to feel above all else.
And they do get the Varus, a ban that I thought would be the final one from Suning. Now it's the chance for Suning to respond. They don't have the option of going towards a Cogmore, which they banned out, so no on-hit attack damage carries. Instead going towards Caitlyn. Slightly longer range than Varus, and is able to neutralize the lane to kick things off, but Varus starts to take over once you approach a couple of items.
Yes, and to be fair, if we do hit late game, Caitlyn's always going to bring that back, and I think that's something that Suning Gaming are looking towards. It's a bit of late game insurance policy, whilst retaining that early laning strength that they had in the last game. But Crystal responds with the Varus, one of his most played champions as well, and not a surprise to see him go to that, but it gives laning presence once again to Snake. So the early game's just potent between both of them in the bottom lane 2v2. The junglers now match each other with a Zac locked in as well. Their tanks, their engaged tools, they're everything that their team needs for facilitating all of the advances as we hit the early and mid stages of the game. I look towards mid lane for each respective team as where the difference is going to be made. And we saw a more successful 2v2 from Hacker and Knight in game 1. And that's something that I think will be more impactful in this one.
Especially with Hacker being able to pick up Sejuani with that Skarner ban, forcing the Varus first pick from Snake. They get the rotation of Caitlyn, Sejuani, something that we don't usually see as a last pick during Champions Select. However, without Zac being banned out in this match, SofM goes towards the second tank of choice, especially with Skarner being banned out. So no Jarvan being picked up here, no Kha'Zix. We're starting to see that transition away from these two junglers and more into the tanks like Sejuani and Zac.
Of course, SofM does have a lot of Zac played. He was one of the more unique, that's a very unique hairstyle. He's one of the more different and unique Zac players. He's had some weird itemization, he's had some weird pathing, he does make some unusual decisions. But that's pretty much stock standard SofM, and then he tries to constantly innovate from the norm. Constantly force something different into the meta to confuse you, and more importantly, to pressure you, and that's what Snake wants.
I mean, we even saw him bring that leash of blue buff and Gromp into the LPL as well. First Zac player in the LPL to do it, I believe, and everyone else has since adapted to that as well. But again, he's now on a tank. He's known to be the pressure jungler. He's known to have his laners work around here, the similar style that we see from junglers in the LCK. But on Zac, it's a little bit different. Normally you have to protect this man because he is not too strong in the early game.
Yeah, and you mentioned similar to the LCK, they're one of the only teams in the entire LPL that has a playstyle revolving around their jungler. Everybody else revolves around their solo laners. So SofM's got a big responsibility for the roster. He usually steps up and delivers though on that responsibility. The major difference shifts with mid lane solo kills, with top lane solo kills, and with bottom lane as well. If Snake just hold their lanes, they'll be better.
And of course, Suning still have their fans in that crowd from Chongqing, but the Snake pit is just way too loud, especially after that match 1 victory. We could hear them chanting all the way to the Nexus exploded in that game. To kick things off, Crystal's already been forced to flash away from a 3-man squad of Snake. Suning, sorry.
There comes a time in every League of Legends game, Fish, when your eyes just find themselves glued to the screen no matter what. And if a game hits 50 minutes and somehow crests over to 60, those are usually two very good moments for exactly that happening. So everyone in the Snake pit, the whole arena would have been very elated to see that Snake got the victory, because they would have all been staring down the screen, hoping and praying that their team could come up clutch.
Especially when it's a comeback story after Suning held the game for most of that match. Even though it went to 68 minutes, it seemed like Suning had the upper hand the entire way, all the way to the Nexus exploded almost. But taking a look at the key story runes that we picked up, again, both bottom laners are going for the Unsealed Spellbook. This time around in the mid lane, it's going to be Airy being picked up, so top side of the map looks fairly similar, except for XiaoAL, who goes for Comet.
And it's important, of course, here, we were just watching SofM do the Wolves, to note how he's going to path in this game. He is someone that we mentioned that revolutionized the Gromp and the blue buff leash, doing it simultaneously. But starting Wolves doesn't always mean that you're going to go to do exactly that. It can actually mean that you're going to, in part, do a full clear that starts with a half clear on one side of the map. So Wolves, Raptors, red buff, and then you can go to Scuttle Crab if you'd like, or Krugs, recall to the other side of the map. And what this does is it forgoes the vision from your opponents. They won't be able to see where you are. They'll assume you're on the top side of the map and you've come back to the bottom side. But that lack of physical vision makes it harder.
And again, SofM's making an interesting play. He went Wolves to Raptors, and now
Hacker.
over to his blue, and he found Hacker trying to take away his own blue buff.
What are you
Gets
doing,
him with the rubber
Hacker?
hand, slams him into the blue buff as well. That takes away Sejuani's passive. So let's see if Snake are able to rotate over. But currently, it's Taliyah who has priority in the mid lane, and bottom lane it's Caitlyn who's pushing it with Tahm Kench.
You'd assume this is actually Hacker's buff to secure, and he does do exactly that, and he's winning the trade as well. SofM, he may have wanted to respect that a little bit more when you look at the state of the lanes that we're going to rotate. That's just a mistake from Zach.
Yeah, your junglers can't play around the jungler when your lanes are being pushed in so quickly, and SofM had the opportunity to take red buff and go towards his own blue. Doesn't work out for him.
No, and you can see, again, I can understand that he wants to take a risk like that. If he manages to secure that blue, then that's very impressive for himself, right? He can then go over to the red buff, get himself a full clear. But Hacker takes the risky decision of even going for the smite battle, but knows how much damage he deals, is able to secure it. And because he forces the Zac back to base, look at the added pressure that ensues.
That's a 4 buff. If Zac can't steal this from Hacker...
Well, Zac can't steal anything. They know exactly where he is. Knight still has control of the mid lane, and he's going to try and kill SofM and keep him away from the Krugs. It's not just 4 buffs, it's everything.
They're trying to dive both Flandre and SofM. XiaoAL's been able to chip down that top lane next to nothing, and they both retreat to their top lane in a turret.
They just absolutely demolish Snake in every conceivable way. You mentioned how important the jungler is towards winning a game. Well, look at what happens when your jungler, that is the most important part of your team, gets counted.
Well, Hacker's got SofM downloaded in this match because he knew exactly where Zac was going to be in every step of the way. And now teleport bottom lane. Yoon actually flashing forward to try and lock down Hudie. Steps on a trap here, going to take a lot of damage. Yoon has the Devourer available, but instead they go for Crystal, who is stuck between a Rocket and a Sion, and Suning get first blood.
Hudie flashes away to safety, and Crystal sacrifices himself. No summoner spells used. Just wanted to try his best to maybe get a cheeky kill onto Yoon on the backside. And best case scenario here is that Hudie can hold the wave. He also has the teleport if need be. Crystal's going to teleport in as well. It's the start of a disaster for Snake, but it's not like we haven't seen this before.
Exactly as how last game started. A little bit stronger this time round for Suning. Can Snake hold on the way they did in that last matchup? Or do they still have some moves of their own that they're not showing just yet? Some way to find priority in this match?
When you look at the difference between games 1 and 2, where Suning Gaming are strong and where Snake are weak, the jungle was where Snake was strong. That's the exact opposite right now. You're looking at strength from Hacker in contrast to SofM, and that's the matchup you never thought to say that in as well. That may be a bigger deal than you would ever imagine. This Sejuani is going to be monolithic compared to his opponent, the tiny flubber running around in the jungle.
And it's not like they banned out SofM this time. The only junglers they took away from him were Sejuani as well as Gnar. Snake could have picked any jungler they wanted during the first pick rotation. Instead, they opted to give it to him last again.
I don't think picking the Zac is the problem in this situation either. It's just how they've played it out. Again, we looked at how Suning Gaming lost game 1. It was execution. I think execution's a very similar prospect here in the second game. So they don't really know what they're doing right now, Snake. They feel very disheveled compared to what we're used to seeing, especially SofM. Half clearing on his Wolves, going over to Raptors, then just coming back to blue buff, losing both major buffs.
There's nothing for SofM to pick up. Can move towards his Gromp now. Sorry, Gromp Krugs. That's about it. Knight, sorry, Hacker has done a great job so far, and Knight has been pushing in Guoguo constantly and aiding his jungler, taking a play out of Snake's playbook.
XiaoAL with control on the top side of the map as well. You're seeing what happens when the Sion can handle the Gnar, which is what you'd expect. They're diving top lane
Taliyah's coming up as well. Remember, there's no flash available for either the jungler or top laner for Snake. Flandre does have Mega Gnar coming up shortly. XiaoAL missed the roar right there, but they get him in time. SofM tries to jump in. Can he lock down Hacker?
Nice
and no.
XiaoAL
now going to take the turret damage. So trying to dive Snake's jungler instead. Still has passive available for Zac. So it's a bit dangerous for them to do so.
Hacker has flash. It should just be a free kill.
Throws the minion at him. Heal's going to come out from Knight as well. And now that he has no turret to run to, Suning walk all over the top side of the map, getting another kill in the top lane.
And this is just an absolute demolishing of Snake's ranks at the moment. They recall top lane. They've got the kills. They've got the tempo. Guoguo is just hanging out in mid lane. Like, what's happening, guys? His top lane is just being destroyed this entire time. Great execution here. Knight does not block off XiaoAL. They wait for the stuns to connect before the shove even gets considered. And then the stopwatch is used just before the auto attack can lock Hacker down for presumably a kill by the turret. Everything here is just squeaky clean from Sinning Gaming.
Even SofM deciding he had to back away from that turret means that's 3 kills over to Sinning. They're able to shut down SofM significantly. He is more than 15 CS behind. Hacker is keeping up in terms of experience, and so is Flandre at the top side of the map. With a 2,000 gold lead, we've seen Snake being able to hold on from 4,000 gold. 30 minutes into the match. 7 minutes is much faster.
To have a 2,000 gold lead for so much of that to be on a Sion. What's Crystal gonna do? Die.
At this point, pray.
I'll spoil it. He's gonna die.
Let's see if he can hold on. He's still sitting on a Doran shield and a stopwatch in comparison to the BF sword. That's been picked up by Caitlyn, already going for another initiation. SofM does hit level 6 from that. It's going to try and deliver Hacker further back. Guoguo was forced to use his ultimate there as well. He does get back to safety and secure his blue buff.
SofM does play that well to get out to safety, but the blue buff was contested, and that's still a victory for Sinning Gaming in the end. Yes, they don't win the Smite battle, but the fact that the Zac has it, not Guoguo, and the ultimate was used by the Orianna means that mid lane control is still there for Knight, and Knight has his ultimate up in about 30 seconds. If they want to go top again, punish Flandre, start to threaten the first outer structure of the game, they can. If they want to send XiaoAL to bottom lane with the Taliyah and Hacker now that they've 6 and they're hitting those ultimates, they could do that as well.
Well, they're trying to see if they can invade onto SofM on the top side of the map. Red buff is there, and Hacker once again makes his way up there. Exactly the same play that we saw at level 3 is now being put into effect at level 6 for Hacker. Doesn't spot out SofM. There is a ward over this red buff.
But he doesn't necessarily need to. The only risk they have presently is that Knight's at about half health. So they threaten the red buff. He should just be stronger in the 2v2 because Taliyah's here first. But mid priority is the biggest concern, whilst top is just demolishing.
XiaoAL might be caught out slightly here. Hacker is close by. SofM going to try and pull him back. Good use of the ultimate coming out from XiaoAL. Denies that crap kill, but they're still hunting. Flandre gets the hyper proc. Wants to continue charging, but Sion's just so tanky. Ninja Tabby as well as Glacial Shell pick up. You're not killing that, man.
Nope, that's what the 201 Sion will do whilst he was well out of position. He's tanky enough to survive. The ultimate, the flash expended, however, is still a win for Snake. And they actually get a trade. They get something positive. Whilst it's not a kill, it is something.
They're holding on. Something about Snake is, despite the 3 kills, despite the early shutdown SofM, they are just trying to survive in this match. That's what allowed them to find the opportunity to come back into the game last match. It is a lot earlier this time around. There is no part of the map which is going well for Snake at the moment. But at least they're holding on.
The top lane is just a giant mess. How strong XiaoAL is. Bottom lane is doing work, as you would expect, though, for a Caitlyn and a Tahm Kench against the Varus. The range advantage there starts to make a large amount of difference. And also just having jungle presence down there. Having presence from the Sion specifically with the teleport down there. It's not just a Fed Sion, it's a Fed Sion that contributed to bottom lane and got it going. And then mid lane, Knight has just been unlocked. He has been unleashed into the entire map, and he's doing it time after time.
They still have their eyes set towards the top lane. Flandre nowhere near Mega, with Hacker waiting in the wings. With Knight disappearing from the mid lane, that's an easy first turret being picked up by Sinning.
And note, of course, that Knight wasn't even going towards top lane. He just sat in the bush, Vision spotted him, and he said, well, I'll just hide. And the fact that he hides zones away Flandre, the turret just drops. It is solo gold for the first turret of the game over to XiaoAL too, like he needed another 650, but he has it.
He's got both components for his Frozen Heart all ready to go as well. Crystal's going to have such a difficult time against the Sion. Yes, Crystal will be doing a decent amount of magic damage when he picks up a Rage Blade, but he relies on that attack speed to deal that damage, and Sion is going to be all up in his face.
Certainly will be. Sion also just in front of everyone's face being fed means that he's not going to die regardless. Of course, his first item's going towards a Frozen Heart. You're looking towards the second item for the majority of the magic damage.
SofM at least takes his big raptor away. He wants his chickens. They already got a chicken dinner in the first match. Now they'll have to see if they can get him in the second. Crystal does get locked down. Hacker does half his health and damage, forces him to flash away. Even Yoon trying to join that fight, but that's a summoner spell being burnt by the AD carrier Snake.
No hesitation from Yoon to jump in as well, so a second ultimate was burnt, but the flash from Crystal means they can dive him at a moment's notice. Whenever they find the chance, Knight being unlocked in mid lane is exactly that opportunity that they could look towards. If they wish to pursue that, they should be, and they are.
So they try to go for a dive onto SofM on the top side of the map. They do cancel Sion's ultimate, and Flandre does get a lot of hyperbox, but that's a big Q being charged up by XiaoAL. In fact, teleport's coming up here as well. 3 of them. Everyone wants to get some action in the top side of the map. Yoon's going to be able to save Sion for a little bit longer. Crafty Chains will come out from Varus, but SofM, you've gone way too deep, buddy. He falls. His passive gets popped. Flandre tries to jump in. Great stopwatch being used by Yoon. Has great health available as well. XiaoAL gets a kill in the middle of his passive. He's gone for SofM. Look him clobber away. Gets one more down. And now Snake needs to try and run away because Sunny, they've just got so many millions up the top lane. That's an ace. 12 minutes into a match. Triple kill picked up and an ace for Suning Gaming.
Everybody from Snake comes top lane. They try so hard to make the play. They really wanted a dive to be successful. And they overcommit themselves to more than just one kill. And they are made to pay for it. Exactly right by Suning Gaming. And as it should be done. They don't need 5 people up there. They just need a Taliyah. The tankiness, the stopwatch timings. Suning are schooling Snake.
They certainly are. It was a repeat of what happened at the start of game number 1. This time around, though, it's so much more well-defined by Suning.
Yes, it is, and of course the teleports start from Yoon very early. The gobble, the flash, they want to keep the Sion alive. And from this point, you're like, okay, the Varus ultimate was used on Yoon. You kill Yoon. SofM commits himself super hard knowing he has the passive. But oh my god, that stopwatch timing from Yoon did wonders in keeping them in the rest of that fight as well. But the reinforcements arrive. They're able to secure themselves the follow-up kills. The shockwave just hits the spot. The spot was not the target. And then everyone dies to the Sejuani arriving.
Double kill picked up by XiaoAL in his passive. Knight picks up a triple. Full house being picked up by Suning in that team fight there. Ace so early into the match as well. At 6,000 gold lead 14 minutes into the game.
I can tell you that if this was a scrim, you'd be going next. The mistake that 1-0 off in a best of 3. There is no real go next opportunity for them. I think they just made that play out of desperation because they saw an opportunity, fully acknowledging, of course, that they are just super far behind. So they took that chance. That chance was very risky and it did not pay.
It almost feels like Snake need to try and do what they did in game number 1. Sit back, try to relax, and hold out for as long as they can. As we've mentioned time and time again, though, Suning have a much larger goal. This is kind of what we see Invictus Gaming do from time to time. Pick up a nice lead from the laning phase and transition that into a snowball effect. Suning have not been able to do that in most of their matches. Instead, get a small lead. They can't transition that into late game. I don't think they're going to have too much difficulty this time around, though.
No hesitation from Hacker. You can really see the state of the game with how far ahead they feel. The fact that he just throws the ultimate out. Well, the flash is gone from Guoguo. He had the cleanse, but felt the need to distance himself, you would say. Make sure that he was even safer. Now, he does still have the shockwave, and he's just ticked over to level 11, and also, and most importantly, has the blue buff. So right now, Snake are able to hold that mid lane turret, but it's a limited time only offer.
They already have Fury parked in this mid lane as well. So Suning do what they do best. Outer turrets take it down first. Move towards the mid lane. Take down that final outer turret. Increase the goldie to have control majority of the match. And look to try and reset. Take more objectives from themselves. Slowly but surely make sure that Snake bleed out.
And unfortunately for Suning Gaming, of course, it's a Cloud Drake. When you look towards the rest of the map, the Rift Herald is something that they've got available to use, but they haven't even needed to use it yet. That's how strong they are. That's how far ahead they are. Right now, the state of this game, whilst it's in absolute control of Sin Gaming, they have actually still got the tools there in the shed to accelerate that even further. What are you doing?
Yelling. Says
What are you doing?
Unless Fern's just getting caught. Jumps away, he's fine. For now.
For now. Hasn't got Flash. Not a lot of people have Flash on the side of Snake.
But again, I really want to draw this back to what is Snake's objective in the early game. Because normally it's play around SofM. First game, yes, he was doing well on the Gnar. Second game didn't do too much. But once those opportunities disappear, even in the first match where you're so far ahead, Snake just didn't have any more plays to make. And they tried the desperation attempt top side of the map, but that's all they really had in this match
frankly,
as well.
their laning's just been weak. SofM's got such an important role in the team, and he does make some big decisions. But they draft the Varus Braum into the Caitlyn, and the Caitlyn has the push, and they already knew Sejuani was invading, so they prepare that push in advance. And I don't know if SofM was saying we're going to respond to the push or the invade from the Sejuani, but my laners then can't help me, which is just a mistake from SofM in the first place, or what the actual strategy was from him. Because even that early game pathing, how often do you see someone go from Wolves to Raptors to blue buff? And why not just do Wolves to blue buff?
Maybe just take your red buff after you pick up Raptors and start to clear out the rest of the jungle. At least even if you get 3 buff, it's just a 3 buff, not a shellacking of the jungle.
There's the dive mid lane.
Looking to go for more kills here if they can. Guoguo with a good shockwave as well as stopwatch used. But look at that Sion, just parked right on top of the Orianna. Fury picks up an easy kill for himself. Rift Herald is still charging into the base on top of this. Hudie is going to die. That's 2 being picked up by Suning. No response from Snake so far. SofM's going to try and do what he can. Delivers Yoon into the back line. He uses his cleanse, flashes away, gets back nice and safe. Knight will take a little bit of turret damage as XiaoAL still fancy to go for a fight here. I don't blame him. He's just so tanky on this side. Flandre is forced to flash away. Knocks up Crystal as well. They're going for the inhibitor turret. 18 minutes into this match. XiaoAL takes no damage. Stop it, Crystal. You tickle. You cannot attack this man.
Love me some back scratches. Gets in the gobbled up as well, rather. They're going towards top. Back it away. Snake actually had the top teleport, so that was a bit confusing. I'm not too sure where Hudie was going with that one. But either way, Studio Game and back it up. They're pretty far ahead, Fish. I don't really know what else to tell you at this stage. There's a Sion walking at them. They're hitting him, but he's just getting some back scratches.
It's a 9,000 gold lead. 18 minutes into the match.
Yeah. 10-1. Snake are lucky they've got a kill.
I think we went to 68 minutes last game, Rusty. Do you think we can go a little bit longer in this match?
We're just compensating. We know that the games start in Shanghai very soon, so we want to get that second game victory out of the way as soon as we possibly can, so we can have a normal third game, and the show can resume as usual.
If
what?
If Snake don't hold out somehow.
How? All right. Look, if Sydney Gaming managed to lose this one, I've never seen something like that in my life. They are so far ahead on all of the right members that they should just look at Snake the wrong way. If Snake even get too close, one screen away from them, they'll die.
And all the gold is on the mid laner as well as the top laner, who has 2 completed items as a tank. Adaptive Helm as well as a Frozen Heart. XiaoAL just can't die anymore.
No. And that's awkward because it's a part of his kit. That's how fed he is.
He wants to use his passive, but he just can't. Meanwhile, in the bottom lane, Crystal, yes, looking for his second item. But Fury has almost completed the core build that a Caitlyn needs.
Yeah, the Caitlyn's strong. Whilst Crystal has items, he doesn't actually have upgraded boots either. He's not fully efficient. He's going to get chased down by the excess range that a Caitlyn has. The Sion as well. Imagine not having extra move speed against him. Very dangerous. Sejuani on top of that, above all else. And Orianna is rushed by Knight as his secondary item, acknowledging that he is far ahead and he wants to lock him down ASAP. We may just see a 20-minute Baron into the game ending through mid lane. That's how far ahead they are.
Blocked down SofM. He's a tank, but he doesn't quite look like one at this point. Splits into Blobless. Fury's there, watches helplessly. There's nothing you can do to protect him at this point in time. Another pick for Suning. Meanwhile, Sion's charging on to Flandre. He's forced to try and run away at full health from Suning.
They're just going to run at each other a little bit. Yoon and Fury also ulted into the backline behind him, which is why he has to disengage. Now, instead of going towards the Baron, even with the jungler dead, they find themselves another free turret to take, and why not when it's completely free? And now they can rotate as they would like. to anywhere they would please.
Well, they've got 11,000 gold. Sydney can do whatever they want. Snake.
Buy a house. Buy a whole family house.
They pretty much
I'm
could.
not looking at Fish, he's giving me a look.
They pretty much could if they wanted to. But where was the Sydney in game 1? They had such a strong lead to start things off. They weren't able to snowball into this.
Sydney Gaming are a good team that continues to impress, that continues to improve. Sometimes they just don't show up to play. And they looked so good in game number 1 at the start of the game, and then they just lost it.
I mean, you even compare that to the matches they had, like, against EDG, where early game they looked good as well. Late game is where they faltered. They weren't able to acquire this big of a snowball, something that we see Invictus Gaming do all the time. And they're very similar playstyles as well when it comes to trying to split up the map. So need to be able to do it well early. Just transitioning it has not been easy so far. Now they have this snowball. They have to try and make these aggressive plays and show they can transition it when they have such a massive lead. Because if they don't have this massive, they won't have this massive lead all the time.
And for what it's worth, even in this game, if SofM by some miracle is able to secure himself the Baron, I don't actually think that even does enough to tip the balance in this game at all. They're just too far ahead, and they should be able to continue to push against the Baron Snake if that miracle even occurs. The state of this game, with a Taliyah wall available, that's very easily your next best step, is you just set up for the Baron, control the red side jungle, actually push in as a team and utilize that, and then if you start the Baron, which you can, Taliyah wall blocks them off.
They are positioning for vision over the red buff here.
I think they're just hesitant. Baron just seems to be some kind of bad wuju.
Look, after game 1, I don't blame them.
They can go to mid lane if they'd like. They could group up as 5 around that if they'd like. Sion is handling Flandre. No problems whatsoever. If he groups, everyone runs away. They could very well go towards the mid lane inhib if they would choose before the Baron. Let the supers crash in and then go.
Or even take down this final inner turret, top side of the map. Fury has those items complete, including Berserker Greaves. This is a little bit too strong at the moment for anyone from Snake to deal with. No armor really being picked up besides Ninja Tabbies from SofM. The Fury will chunk through people. There's that Taliyah wall separating the team.
Uh-oh, Crystal.
And Hacker tries to jump forward. Fakes going towards Guoguo and throws his ultimate out at Crystal, but he sidesteps that quite nicely.
He was predicting the flash fish. The Sejuani dashes forwards, throws it at Crystal, hoping that he might freak out and flash over the wall, which is where it was aimed for all along. But Crystal just stared still.
A little bit too flashy coming out from Hacker.
Way too cerebral. One too many steps. Crystal is a simple man.
Where's that man going? Sion's charging into the bottom lane. See you, mate!
G'day. Goodbye.
Oh, he got 39 plus 19 gold there. I can't do the math, but that was worth, I think.
That was very bad quick maths, Fish. I'm not going to tell you the number.
You're the analyst here. You're meant to tell me how much that costs.
I'm not going to tell you the number.
Well, that cannon was worth 50, I can tell you that much. Instead, Sydney moved towards the Elemental Dragon. Instead, Ocean Dragon is going to be their target. Slowly taking these objectives away from Snake. Again, they're not forcing the issue. They're not trying to be as aggressive as you think a team with this lead this early on would be, but they're taking it nice and slow.
They're taking what is free. They are making sure that Snake are not responding to anything. They're not going for any kind of 60-40 even type plays. Maybe not even 70-30 at this stage. They're making sure that it's 100% or they're not going to commit towards it. At the same time, whilst that is sound and good to see, it's not very Sion Gaming-like. They're a side that likes to make big plays.
Seems like they're just waiting for Fury to pick up all 6 of his items. He's getting close. He's got a Last Whisper picked up. There's no armor on the other team.
If they have armor, he will shred it.
Will Snake ever get it? I don't think they can at this point. Baron's up and available. Knight's going to be able to get the Scuttle Crab. And the rest of the team has already gone for a shop, so they're fairly strong at the moment. XiaoAL going back to base. Picks up an Abyssal Mask. If you thought you could kill him before, there's no way you're going to do it now.
He's so tanky. No one can stop the Sion, but they don't want to use it.
It's disgusting, honestly.
It's 3D chess right now. Sion Gaming are just so afraid of engaging that they're going to choose to never engage, and that is how they will win the game. They're thinking 3 steps ahead of all of us.
Unfortunately, Snake's still playing checkers.
I mean, granted, the mid inhib is still open. SofM's now out of position as well.
We caught him out. He's able to jump away, thankfully.
But mid inhib is available. They have a Caitlyn they could potentially push in.
They're fighting bottom lane. XiaoAL and Flandre are going at it. No, Flandre's disappeared. Thought we could actually see some fight take place.
Flandre even has an experience advantage. He's got 20 extra CS. He's been able to sit down there for such a long amount of time and farm. Snake have, I hate saying it, they've held on for long enough to get 2 items on their carries, and they're working towards a 3rd. They're controlling the split push. And Sin and Gaming are just playing hopscotch around the Baron.
Yeah, they don't want that Baron. They just don't want it. I feel like they could bait a fight over it. They could try and force it. They could try and sneak it at this point. That's how much vision they have over this red buff, but no. Instead, waiting for the perfect fight.
This is their first attempt at it. Hudie has got vision he can place down. There's still 4 control wards between SofM, and they're checking every bush. So no matter what you do, they will find you, and they know you're not doing Baron.
All right, there's
Would you believe it?
Seesaw number 2. They clear out the ward again. XiaoAL goes back to the bottom lane. Hurry up and fight! Come on!
I'm thinking to myself, like, in my brain, it's like, these are the wealth of opportunities that Sion Gaming have got. And then you look at what they've actually done with those opportunities, and they're so afraid.
I'm not happy.
There's no other way to, like, from 18 minutes in the game, they were what, 12,000, 11,000 gold ahead?
Oh, there's still 12,000 gold ahead.
Yeah, that's still there. It's not like anything's changed. But if we get to 40 minutes and it's still 12,000, I'll be upset.
Making an attempt on towards the bottom lane inhibitor turret. Flandre is trying to hold this one out. Does have Gnar coming up shortly. No one else from Snake can quite get there yet, but now the wall falls. Jumps into Gnar, but is thrown back by Taliyah. Takes a bit too much damage, and now Sinning trying to push for this turret. Can they get it?
Guoguo is level 15, so the Shockwave is not max level, but the Shockwave is there. Summoner spells are available for everybody as we finally look towards a moment in the game where these teams are potentially going to try and find a fight. Here we go.
Gnar does go mini though, and Sion charges into the inhibitor turret. The rest of Snake have to back off. SofM gets locked down by Hacker's ultimate. Hudie gets sniped up as Fury flashes forward for that kill. Crystal, he tickles XiaoAL. He's healing from all this damage that Snake are doing at the moment. He took more from the minions and the Nexus turret. Sorry, the inhibitor turret there. But finally, Suning, they will get an inhibitor for themselves 28 minutes into the match.
They'll be able to find a second one. Here's one they prepared earlier. They almost forgot about it. It's been that long, but they will secure the second inhib. Shockwave's still there for Guoguo. Found no opportunity to use it. Gnar's still there for Flandre. He didn't get a chance to use it before. He was all tired, and he came back to Mega a little bit later, so he recycled his angriness. But Sion Gaming just get 2 inhibs.
They did it. They fought, but they didn't have a team fight. They just kind of pushed Snake away, and Snake decided they were not
But
going
that's
to
the
fight
point,
back.
Fish. It's almost like they could have done this for 10 minutes. That's all I'm saying.
But give credit where credit's due. Suning are ahead. They are winning. They're 14,000 gold up. As slow as they want to take it, all that matters at the end of the day is if they win the damn game.
And they did lose game number 1 in 68 minutes. I can understand why they slowed the game down. I can understand that with an early lead as large as they had, that they don't want to throw it away. That would be embarrassing doing it twice in a row.
Also understand that they did it at Baron buff last time, so they don't want to go back towards that objective again.
He's spooky.
He's scary. Look at him. Oh, we can't anymore. Thanks, Crystal.
Don't look at him. He's scary.
I think he's a bit scared now.
I mean, with 2 inhibitors gone, this should just be a Baron for free as well. We're pretty much talking in a way that's like, this game has been over for 10 minutes, waiting for Sion Gaming to do that last step that makes the game over.
Which is very different from game 1, because despite Suning being far ahead, the main criticism was Suning were not doing anything.
Yeah, the game was not over. It was, what, 3,000, 4,000 at most at any one moment.
And then complimenting Snake, you know, holding on. But now it's silly. They're 13,000 gold up.
They're hitting it. All right, the Baron's actually been started. Snake not really able to get to the area. SofM's going to try and cover some distance now. They're going to clear the vision.
Fury's sitting over the wall. He's got 5 items with boots.
They know it's being done because Fury's actually got the debuff.
Yeah.
Oh, he's in.
SofM, can he do it? He did
God.
it! SofM steals the Baron. Is that going to be enough, though? Despite stealing it, they're still 12,000 gold behind, but somehow Snake find a fight over Baron buff.
Why?
They steal it away.
Why is it happening? Why is this happening to us? There's the 400 health Baron and he just didn't smite it.
Look at him go.
Oh, back.
All the way from
it
red
sits
buff.
there for like 3 seconds on the smiteable health bar. Hacker's just...
But they go for a fight. Suning said we're done. They look for a fight on that top lane inhibitor turret. They get it. They kill Crystal. They kill Hood. Yeah. Flandre was split pushing the bottom lane to take down the bottom lane outer turret. He's going mega shortly. Guoguo takes damage from the ultimate of Caitlyn. Doesn't have shockwave available anymore. They're sick and tired of being in this snake pit. Suning one out. They need to get to game 3 to do just that.
They are so upset with that Baron being stolen. Of course it was the 4v5. Crystal and Hudie are dead. SofM has returned. They've got Baron buff, so ultimately, you'd actually expect that Snake will be able to hold the game. It may be close though with all these supers barreling in.
Suning are too damn tired. XiaoAL tries to charge in on top of Guoguo. Shockwave not available for Orianna. Turret takes too much damage. That's going to fall. Only one turret left in this match means Suning can push in quite aggressively. XiaoAL even tanking it up. His shield yet to break after five turret shots. Flandre very low. Does have Gnar available. Looking for a stun. Good knockback coming out from XiaoAL again. Hudie forced to flash away from Fury. Snake still holding underneath this Nexus. But look at XiaoAL again. Just charges forward. He's way too tanky. Knight even builds a wall. Snake gonna get a kill on top of Flandre. SofM gets locked down as well. It's the slaughterhouse right here because Suning just walk through the base, take them down one by one. Crystal's the next target as well. He will fall. Hudie is shoved back into the team. Guoguo's in trouble. Triple kill picked up. Can he make it 4? Pops the Zhonya, saved by Yoon. Gets back to Nexus duty as it will be Suning taking us to game number 3.
The 31-minute and 46-second game, something that will equalize the average game time at the very least for Suning. Bring that down a little bit lower, thankfully for them. And we get to go all the way to game 3 in this series, Fish. Both games started one-sided. Both games started in Suning Gaming's favor, but finally they find a way to end it. But they make sure the Baron gets stolen first. They wait 5 minutes first. They slow the game down as much as they can before they take the plunge. And we're still seeing those same hiccups, potential problems that are there for the Suning Gaming roster.
We still see the same problems with Snake as well. Early game, near non-existent besides SofM making some creative jungle paths, creative plays from himself, but it hasn't amounted to much except for a gold lead early in game 1, and game 2 actually costed a lot of the...
It was a mess.
Yeah, costed a lot of the tempo the team could have had and a lot of the pressure that he could have distributed throughout the rest of the lanes.
Yeah, certainly. I mean, if we look at the difference between games 1 and 2, a lot of this to me is SofM's early jungling, and the fact that Suning Gaming were able to adapt to that well. They pick winning lanes, they play around winning lanes, and just like that, the game was theirs. And
unlike game number 1, Snake were not able to hold on and survive to the late game in game number 2. Brings us to game 3, but before that, let's send it over to the analyst desk to break it down.
Thank you guys, and holy cow, SofM, how does he do it? Swinging in from over the red buff into the Baron, stunned in midair, but he still lands the smite. This guy is crazy. But hey, that big hype play aside, we still have to commend Suning because that was one of the best games I think we've seen from them yet.
Their clearest and cleanest first 6 minutes I've ever seen. And that was, for me, probably like, I would say, a masterclass in communication of how much information was coming across to the rest of the team. It started with level 1, of course, Varus not having flash. So guess what ends up happening? Zach decides, of course, taking Wolf Camp, Raptor, and then going straight towards his blue buff so he's on the bottom side of the map. You have to believe that's the reason why he goes for that clear, because he didn't take a major camp, which is astonishing. The reason why that's crazy is because Sejuani decides to take red buff, Raptors, and then immediately invades, and that's when the snowballing starts happening.
Yeah, I mean, that we saw Hacker so sneakily track into the jungle, bully SofM out. Then he immediately swaps up towards the top side and says, you can't get wolves, you can't get blue. You're not going to come back just for Grump. You're going to go to Krugs, and I will fight you there.
Yeah, I just feel so sad for him. I feel so sad for the Zach, because at that point forward, you usually look towards your own mid laner and say, can you look to back me up? That's a Taliyah on the side of Suning Gaming that constantly has shove, that's constantly looking towards the red buff as well. So Sejuani was always tag teaming up with the Taliyah. So there's no way Zach's going to get his own red buff. And I think that SofM recognized that. The moment he was not able to have blue buff, he's at a massive experience disadvantage. He's getting completely pushed out. And worst comes to worst, because of the drafting on the side of Snake, they not only have the losing mid lane, but a losing top lane. Because one thing that we really wanted to hit, or at least I wanted to hit going into the series, was the top side of the map. SofM, or at least Flandre, is still playing Gnar. For him, he's sticking to his carry champions when the meta has moved towards Sion, Ornn, and Cho'Gath to deal with the Sion. So, sure, Gnar is great going out a laning phase, building up towards your 2 carry items so you can be able to split push versus the Sion. But early laning phase, you get hard dumpstered in the lane. And the reason why it was so snowbally was literally because while they were in red buff stealing and messing with Zach, Gnar was at half HP because of his own trade, so he gets pushed out as well.
Yeah, and this is where we come back to the communication for Suning. Like you said, we saw Knight roaming up there. XiaoAL, like you said, getting that trade and bullying in it, allowing them to push all the way up to a tier 2, not like 20 minutes into the game, but like, what was that, 3 minutes, 30 seconds, 4 minutes, forcing 2 flashes back and winning both top and jungle at the same time.
And the reason why, for me, this was like a hit on the communication was because while all this is happening, mid lane's won, jungle's won, top lane's won. Snake were in the bottom lane pressuring because they had a good matchup there. But then they just TP towards bottom lane. Sion TPs off of that entire shenanigans. And then he just gets a kill on the Varus. So, yep. That's when you start to wrap it up and move on towards the next game if you're Snake.
Yeah, well, Knight is going to be the guy who gets our MVP for that game 1. Of course, roaming all across the map on the likes of that Taliyah 6, 1, and 10. This guy, this rookie, is putting in so much work for Suning.
Yep. Him and Hacker have been playing phenomenally for the past 3 to 4 series. I think that he's been really growing. Him personally, of course, Knight has grown personally on the stage. So good job to him. Hope he comes out and go, of course, into game 3.
Yeah, fingers crossed, because like you said, we do have that game 3 on our hands. The Chongqing Arena is going crazy, but we'll be getting to that in just a moment. First, though, we've got to let the players reset and take a break. So don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.